Each hippo represented a different vacation activity, such as surfing or photography. A fun fact many collectors don't know, Top 10 Teddies was designed by Andre Roche.
Collectors have identified official paint and mold variations from different production runs.
Instead of identical figures, each Drolanati character had its own expression, pose, and space-themed role. Totem doppia faccia. Every totem was hiding a second identity. These were unforgettable. These weren't museum dinosaurs, they were childhood treasures hidden inside chocolate eggs.
There was a specific moment in the 1990s when you did not open a Kinder Surprise egg for the toy inside. You opened it for the question, what am I going to get? The thin plastic capsule, the sharp metallic snap of separation, the feel of that tiny wrapped figure in your palm, all of it carried an electrical charge. Some years your friends had the Happy Hippos collection on every shelf. Other years, the schoolyard currency belonged to whoever got the complete set of Crazy Crocos or Top 10 Teddies first. These were not just toys. They were artifacts of a particular moment in childhood, each one a small, tangible proof that magic still existed inside brown foil. Join us as we look back at 20 iconic Kinder Surprise toys every 90s kid remembers. The Happy Hippos series launched in the early 1990s as Ferrero's answer to a simple question. What if toys had a narrative? Each hippo sat in a different vacation setting. One floated on a raft. Another lounged under an umbrella. They were whimsical, pastel, and deeply appealing to kids who spent their summers in basements watching reruns of summer vacation shows.
Each hippo represented a different vacation activity, such as surfing or photography.
Parents bought Kinder eggs specifically hoping for the hippo in the polka dot swim trunks. The collection cycled off shelves by the mid-90s, replaced by newer themes, but those hippos remained in boxes under beds for decades. They represented something pure about the era, the belief that every toy should spark joy and every collection should feel complete. Kids who found all the variants felt like they had captured something real. Top 10 Teddies arrived in the late 1990s with a concept that tapped directly into the collecting obsession. Each bear was numbered, not named, numbered. Bear 1, Bear 10. The drive to complete a numerical sequence operated on an almost compulsive level. Kids would trade aggressively, demand multiple eggs per birthday, beg parents to swing by the supermarket one more time. The bears themselves were rendered in soft, cuddly sculpts with tiny details.
A fun fact many collectors don't know, Top 10 Teddies was designed by Andre Roche.
Some wore outfits, some held accessories. The completeness fantasy was powerful enough that once kids achieved it, the collection lost meaning. You had beaten the game. Top 10 Teddies became the series that proved how deep the psychological hook of finite numbered collectibles could run. 30 years later, adults still remember which bear eluded them. Tartalegre was an Italian exclusive, a turtle-themed collection from the early 1990s that never received wide distribution outside Europe. Each turtle featured a unique, intricately sculpted shell with different color patterns and textural details. They were more sophisticated than the typical Kinder toy, designed with actual artistic intent.
Real challenge wasn't finding a turtle, it was finding the one you didn't already have.
Kids in Italy had access to the full set. Kids everywhere else had fragments, duplicates, incomplete dreams. The regional exclusivity created a secondary market years later, with adult collectors hunting for the full Tartalegre lineup on specialty sites. For those who owned even one, it carried the weight of rarity and mystery. Where did it come from? Who had gotten it? Tartalegre became a time capsule of European childhood, impossible to find in one country and coveted in another. The Happy Hippos franchise understood something crucial. Kids want narrative progression. So Ferrero launched Die Happy Hippo Hochzeit, the wedding edition in the mid-90s. Now the hippos were getting married. They wore tiny tuxedos and veils. They held flowers and rings. The accessories elevated them beyond simple figurines into tiny wedding party members. Completionists had to own the bride, the groom, the best man, the flower hippo. It was a series designed for scope, designed for obsession.
The hardest part wasn't attending the wedding, it was finding the bride.
The release was limited and seasonal, a special run that disappeared from shelves within months. Kids who caught the window of availability felt chosen. Those who missed it experienced genuine loss. The Hochzeit hippos became the most coveted variants in the entire Happy Hippos pantheon, elevated by scarcity and narrative appeal. Crazy Crocos arrived in the late 1990s as the answer to collectors who felt the hippos had become too familiar. These were crocodiles, bright and aggressive, sculpted in action poses. Some wore sunglasses, others had exaggerated smiles. The color palette was vivid, electric, designed to pop on a shelf or a schoolyard desk. Crazy Crocos became the gateway into serious collecting for countless kids. They were widely distributed, affordable, and varied enough that completion felt achievable.
One missing Croco could keep a collection incomplete for years.
The series proved that if you could get the basic set, there was pride in it. Once distribution broadened, however, the novelty faded quickly. Everyone had a Crazy Croco. Everyone had 3. The market flooded. But for the months when they were scarce, they ruled the playground with an iron jaw. Sir Condor stood apart visually. While most Kinder collections centered on round, cuddly mammals, Sir Condor was a majestic bird, wings spread, predatory and proud. The sculpt emphasized the regal nature of the creature. This was not cute, this was powerful. Kids interested in less mainstream collectibles gravitated towards Sir Condor.
These weren't just tiny birds, they were an entire medieval kingdom hidden inside chocolate eggs.
It represented the outlier collection, the one for children who wanted something different. A child who owned Sir Condor and nothing else felt like an individual. The series never achieved the cultural penetration of the hippo variants or the teddies, which meant it remained somewhat mysterious. You encountered a kid with a Sir Condor collection, and you wondered about their collecting philosophy. What drew them to birds instead of mammals? Sir Condor asked questions instead of providing comfort. Leo Venturas was a lion in mid-90s adventure wear, a figure designed to embody the explorer aesthetic parents believed toys should represent. This was not just a cat. This was a cat going somewhere, doing something. The sculpt showed Leo mid-action, perhaps climbing or preparing for a journey. The appeal was fundamentally about aspiration. You did not collect Leo because he was cute.
Collectors have identified official paint and mold variations from different production runs.
You collected Leo because he represented the idea of action, adventure, movement. The series appeared and disappeared with relative speed, part of the mid-90s churn when Ferrero released collections at a pace designed to keep collectors constantly hungry. Leo Venturas belonged to the era when parental values about toys still influenced design, when manufacturers believed children wanted to be inspired toward movement and exploration rather than simple possession. Penguin Beach was a penguin collection with a vacation theme, released in the early 1990s when the beach aesthetic dominated children's media. Each penguin variant represented a different beach scenario. One held a surfboard, another wore snorkel gear. They were gentle, uncomplicated, designed for kids who wanted cute without drama. Penguin Beach felt like a collection you could actually complete because there were fewer variants than the Hippo series.
The charm of the series came from seeing penguins doing things you wouldn't expect.
That accessibility made it less collectible in retrospect. Once you had 3 or 4 penguins, the repetition began to feel flat. Penguin Beach represented the simpler era of Kinder collecting, before the psychological hooks became more sophisticated. Drop a comment below if you remember actually completing a Penguin Beach set, because most kids did not. The collection faded because it failed to create the hunger that drove the mid-90s collecting frenzy. Panda Party arrived in the mid-90s with a revolutionary concept for Kinder toys, accessories. The pandas came with tiny hats, confetti, party items. Suddenly, the toy was not just an object, it was a system. You could dress your panda, you could stage scenarios. Panda Party marked the moment when Ferrero realized that accessories elevated the whole collecting experience. Kids could create collections within collections. The fragility became apparent quickly, though.
This wasn't just a party, it was one of Kinder's most memorable celebrations hidden inside chocolate eggs.
The tiny hats separated from the heads. The accessories went missing. Children discovered that the more complex the toy, the faster it broke. Panda Party demonstrated both the innovation and the fragility of the mid-90s approach. It was the series that promised more and delivered complexity instead of just appeal. Adults who remember Panda Party recall it as the moment when Kinder toys became less about the toy and more about the idea of the toy. By the late 1990s, Ferrero had pushed the Happy Hippos concept into surreal territory. Die Happy Hippo Company imagined hippos in business. They had roles. They worked at desks. Some wore tiny suits. The creative brief must have been a single sentence. Hippos, but office. The series felt forced in retrospect, conceptually overextended. Kids understood that hippos belonged on vacation or at weddings. The idea of hippos filing reports or attending meetings registered as bizarre, even began in the 90s.
This wasn't just another toy collection, it was an entire office hidden inside chocolate eggs.
Yet there was something charming about the concept, something that made Die Happy Hippo Company memorable precisely because it did not quite make sense. Adult collectors now seek out this series specifically for its weirdness, the evidence of a creative team that had exhausted the obvious avenues and was simply trying anything. The hippos in tiny ties have become cult objects among serious adult collectors. Stralunati was an Italian series from the late 1990s that achieved cult status by virtue of limited distribution. The name itself felt foreign, mysterious, impossible to pronounce with confidence. Each figure represented a distinct character, personality-driven in ways the hippos never quite achieved. The sculptures were sharp, well-defined, designed with actual artistic consideration. But Stralunati never went global.
Instead of identical figures, each Stralunati character had its own expression, pose, and space.
It remained a regional secret, a collection that kids in Europe knew and kids everywhere else encountered only by accident, often without even knowing the proper name. Decades later, the internet revealed what these figures actually were and where they came from. For many collectors, Stralunati served as the gateway into understanding that Kinder's full portfolio extended far beyond what any single market received. The mystery of Stralunati partly explained the enduring appeal of collecting. You could spend a lifetime discovering what you missed. Fantasmini occupied a unique space in the Kinder lineup. These were hand-painted Italian collectibles, tiny fantasy creatures rendered with actual artistic craft. Each figure was slightly different, slightly irregular, more like miniature sculptures than mass-produced toys. The hand-painted quality meant fragility. The colors could chip, the details could fade. Parents who did not understand the investment value let these fall into bathroom trash cans. Kids who found them understood they were different, special.
Ended up with duplicate ghosts before finding the final missing character.
More precious than the typical Kinder fare, Fantasmini represented the early era of Kinder collecting, before the concept became fully industrialized. These were toys that carried the fingerprints of human hands in their creation. Adult collectors today prize surviving Fantasmini pieces at premium prices, not because they are rare in absolute terms, but because so few survived childhood intact. The fragility is what makes them valuable. The impermanence is what makes them permanent in memory. Those hand-painted figures required delicate handling. The next collection did not. Happy Hippo's Fitness Fever arrived in the mid-90s as the series that proved Ferrero would push the theme concept to almost comical extremes. The hippos were fitness-obsessed. They wielded dumbbells. They practiced yoga. One hippo attempted aerobics. The concept reflected the late 80s and early 90s wellness obsession that had trickled down into children's media. Parents wanted toys that promoted health. Ferrero delivered hippos with tiny weights. The series now reads as charmingly dated
as Ferrero's most recognizable toy franchise and helped establish the characters.
Evidence of how completely the era's anxieties infiltrated even toy design. Collected fitness hippos without irony, because the idea of hippos in tiny sweatbands felt completely normal in 1994. Tell us which Happy Hippo variant your family had, because the odds are decent it was Fitness Fever. The collection proved that novelty could sustain collecting momentum, even when the concept seemed increasingly absurd. The fitness hippos were straightforward collectibles. The next one was designed to play tricks. Totem Doppia Faccia was a late 1990s Italian release built around a simple mechanism. It flipped. Two faces on one body, the identity changing depending on how you held the toy. It was genius toy design, the kind that made kids feel clever for owning something with hidden properties. The mechanism appealed to the 9-year-old imagination. You had discovered a secret. The toy had revealed its hidden nature only to you. Of course, the mechanism broke frequently.
Totem Doppia Faccia. Every totem was hiding a second identity. These were
The glue holding the two halves together separated. Kids twisted too hard trying to achieve the flip. Totem Doppia Faccia became the series where brilliance and fragility existed in perfect balance. Adults who owned one remember feeling like they possessed a sophisticated toy, something that required respect and careful handling. The double face concept was clever enough to echo through decades, making Totem Doppia Faccia unexpectedly collectible in the present day. Meowgizi was a cat-themed collection that arrived in the late 1990s with limited distribution, particularly outside Asia. The name itself invited mispronunciation. Kids passed around Meowgizi figures without confidence in the pronunciation, treating the name as a minor mystery. The cats themselves were rendered in soft, approachable designs, cute without being cloying. Meowgizi represented accessible appeal, but the distribution issues meant that many kids encountered it only fragmentarily. You might own 2 cats and never find the others.
Accessories matter to collectors. Many Meowgizi figures included small removable accessories.
The internet eventually revealed the full scope of the Meowgizi collection, but by then it had already become a ghost series, the one you remembered owning but could not quite articulate why it mattered. Meowgizi served a different function than the hippos. It was not aspirational, it was not mechanically clever, it was simply present in some childhoods and absent in others, which made it somehow more memorable for the gaps it left. The cats disappeared quietly into the late 90s. The elephants went down in flames. Funny Phantom was an elephant circus series released in the late 1990s with a recruitment problem. The larger sculpt meant fewer per egg. Ferrero had designed these figures to be elaborate, detailed, impressive. The cost was that you received 1 elephant per egg instead of 2 hippos. The scarcity was intentional but crushing. Kids who wanted a complete Funny Phantom collection faced a mathematical impossibility. You needed 15 eggs to complete 15 figures. That was $5 per figure in 1998 money. Parents began setting limits. Kids began experiencing genuine frustration.
Funny Phantom remains a well-loved series, although it never became as internationally famous.
Funny Phantom became the series you remembered wanting more than owning, the collection that hovered just beyond reach. The memory of Funny Phantom is colored by the experience of incompleteness. Drop a comment if you ever actually completed a Funny Phantom set, because the odds suggest you did not. The elephants in their circus costumes remain as the Phantom collection, the one that felt perpetually incomplete. Cocodriti was a late 1990s crocodile variant, distinct from the Crazy Crocos by virtue of more realistic sculpting and less approachable design. These were reptiles, not cartoon characters. The texture of scales was evident in the sculpt. The predatory nature was emphasized rather than softened. Cocodriti was the collection for kids who rejected the cuteness principle entirely, who wanted something that felt more like actual wildlife than fantasy figure.
Accessories matter. Several Cocodriti figures included tiny removable accessories.
The series achieved limited popularity because most kinder collectors wanted approachability. They wanted to cuddle their toys in spirit, if not in fact. Cocodriti demanded a different sensibility. Adults who collected Cocodriti as kids now pride themselves on their taste. The reptile was more sophisticated. The design was more serious. They stand apart from the hippo-dominated memory landscape. Which of these do you miss the most? The question lands differently when you owned Cocodriti. You owned something singular. Squally Baba was a shark-themed aquatic collection from the mid-90s, one of the few Kinder series that attempted an underwater aesthetic. The sharks were rendered in sleek, streamlined designs that suggested motion even in stillness. The color palette emphasized blues and silvers. It was a series designed with genuine visual sophistication. Yet, Squally Baba struggled because water-themed toys occupied a strange space. They were interesting conceptually, but did not offer the narrative hook of a vacation-themed hippo or the mechanism of a double-faced totem. Squally Baba represented pure design without the emotional infrastructure that drove collecting obsession. The series faded, was forgotten, then rediscovered decades later when collectors found forgotten figures in old toy boxes.
Squally Baba. One missing shark was enough to keep an entire collection incomplete.
These rediscoveries transformed forgotten collections into "did I have that" moments. Squally Baba exists in that liminal space now, simultaneously obscure and oddly appealing in retrospect. The sharks glide through memory as the series you forgot you owned. The sharks vanished without fanfare. The voyage that followed became legendary. Die Happy Hippos auf dem Traumschiff was the collection that defined an era, a narrative-driven ocean voyage featuring hippos on a luxury ocean liner. Each hippo had a role on the ship: the captain, the cook, the passenger in a deck chair. The accessories elevated the entire experience. You were not just collecting toys. You were populating a narrative world. Adults now understand that Traumschiff had to do with the German television show of the same name, a luxury cruise drama that captured adult imagination. Ferrero translated that prestige downward into children's collecting. The series proved that IP storytelling could drive collecting behavior.
The hardest part of the voyage wasn't crossing the ocean, it was completing the crew of the 1990s.
Yet, Traumschiff was also frustratingly difficult to complete. Some figures were rarer than others. Many kids owned incomplete sets, 6 hippos instead of 12, enough to understand the narrative, but not enough to tell the complete story. Traumschiff hippos command premium prices from adult collectors, not because they are rarest in absolute terms, but because they were the series that started the obsession. Every serious collector can trace their investing philosophy back to the moment they held a Traumschiff hippo and understood that toys could mean more than themselves. Happy Dinos arrived in the mid-90s at precisely the moment when dinosaur fascination had achieved maximum saturation in children's media. Every show featured dinosaurs. Every toy line included dinosaurs. Ferrero's approach was to render the dinosaurs as approachable, cute, slightly rounded rather than realistically predatory. Happy Dinos made dinosaurs safe. They made them collectible. They made them permanent. The series succeeded because it tapped into something deeper than momentary trends. Dinosaurs represented childhood wonder in its purest form, creatures from before human memory, existing now only in imagination and reconstruction. Happy Dinos offered to make that wonder tangible, to let you hold a piece of prehistory in your hand. Kids collected with genuine passion. Dinosaur enthusiasts hunted complete sets.
These weren't museum dinosaurs, they were childhood treasures hidden inside chocolate eggs.
The series cycled through the catalog like all the others, replaced by new themes, newer dinosaurs, different properties. But Happy Dinos never quite left childhood memory. Adults who collected them still carry the feeling of holding a tiny stegosaurus, still understand the appeal of completing a prehistoric ecosystem. Happy Dinos proved that some toy collections transcend their era because they connect to something unchanging, the eternal human fascination with what came before us, what was lost, what can only be discovered through imagination. 30 years later, a child opens an old box, finds a Happy Dino wrapped in faded plastic, and understands without being told that this object contains childhood itself, captured and preserved, waiting to be opened once more.